The WNBA held its All-Star game this week, and if you missed it, don't worry, so did virtually everyone else on planet Earth. During this not even once-in-a-lifetime event, all the players wore jerseys that read, "Pay us what you owe us." That slogan demands a simple question. What exactly do they think they're owed? Because they don't mean what the market would say they're owed. They mean what the progressive narrative insists. If you hired an economist to assign a fair market value to the WNBA All-Star roster, the poor guy would get a public beating worse than Martin Shkreli trying to upprice an AIDS drug. They're not demanding market value, they're demanding ideological reparations. And history says the NBA will probably give it to them, like the zone defense gives up the corner three. Capitulation, after all, is part of the brand. But where did the WNBA even come from? Was there some great wave of demand? Was there a million-person march begging ESPN for shanked layups and mid-court turnovers in empty arenas? Did we need the WNBA kiss cam and what that brings to our lives? No, none of those things happened. In the mid-90s, there were two converging forces: feminism and taxpayer-funded stadiums. Let's start with 90s feminism. Originally designed to ensure equal education access, it mutated into a sledgehammer against men's sports. Wrestling, baseball, swimming, all sacrificed so schools could say they had equal programs, even if nobody watched or signed up for lady weightlifting. Does this sound familiar to you? The NBA saw it coming. They also saw how much public benefit sports teams soaked up. Tax breaks, municipal bonds, security subsidies, TV protections, media favoritism. Professional sports don't live in a free market, they live in the warm hug of American government and media rights. So they got smart. They saw what Title IX was, and they saw what it was doing to schools. They figured the logic could be applied to pro sports teams. What if we created a women's league, they asked, and used it as leverage to get stadium deals? This is not a joke. This is the origin story of the WNBA. They branded it as justice, inclusion, progress, but it was strategy to unlock public dollars by pretending to offer twice the value. One men's team, one women's team, all under the same roof. Want proof? Look no further than the teams. The Phoenix Mercury, Indiana Fever, Minnesota Lynx. Almost every one is tethered to a bigger play, a renovation deal, an expansion threat, a sweetheart lease. It was a shakedown with a side of sisterhood, and it worked. But the WNBA was never meant to be profitable. It wasn't designed to stand on its own. It was built to serve as political cover, a front-facing, virtue-laced reason to funnel money into stadiums. Over time, it evolved. It became a clumsy cultural weapon, no longer just a box to check for a subsidy. The WNBA turned itself into a platform for slogans, for political demonstrations, for ESPN to produce tortured explainers about why people aren't watching something they never asked for. Let's be real, even without the politics, most people aren't tuning in. Not because they hate women, but because the basketball's not that good. It's not a crime. It's not sexism. It's just 2020 vision. That is sober self-assessment. It is supply and demand. The WNBA knows this. That's why they went in another direction. They became a full-born ideological billboard. Now MAGA America roots against it, not out of hate, but because we see through the scam. It's a guilt-powered grift, a $10 million line item on the ESG budget of every NBA owner, every woke advertiser, and every progressive sports writer pretending they're defending democracy by watching missed jump shots. So let's get back to the real question. What are the players really worth? They're not just athletes. They're the product. Their on-court skills, their off-court personas, their slogans, their post-game activism. That's the actual entertainment. And if this league were making billions and the players were underpaid, I'd be the first guy at the National Labor Relations Board duct taping myself to the door like a DraftKings sponsor Jimmy Hoffa, demanding these ladies get their fair share. But this league loses between 10 and 20 million bucks a year. That's $30,000 to $60,000 in red ink per day. If you took their slogan seriously, pay us what you owe us, each player would owe the league tens of thousands of dollars just to balance the books. In short, the WNBA became a symbol to the progressive left, not a sports league, not a product, a political shield. And for a while, it mostly worked. Until now. Now the players want to cash the check that the league wrote in public. The owners told the world these women were equals, that their product was equally valuable, that the stadium would be worth it because not one but two leagues would be there of some comparable value. And now the players are saying, great, cut the check. Instead, the most enjoyable part is watching this scam cannibalize itself. The more you increase pay, the more money you lose, and without growing demand, the more you press this virtue narrative, the more you remind people this was never a market-based enterprise to begin with. It's a closed-circuit corporate sham of public subsidies and ideological compliance, and it is in an imploding death spiral. The owners built this thing. They constructed the narrative, they built Frankenstein's monster, they wrote the script, and now they're being dragged into the spotlight by the very actors they cast, and they're being told to pay up. And NBA fans, their actions say they don't care. They're not demanding pay equity. They're not glued to the WNBA. In fact, they're absent. America's not mad. We're indifferent. And as any veteran of therapy or the self-help aisle at Barnes & Noble will tell you, the opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. And America is spectacularly indifferent to the WNBA. During the Enron scandal, America learned that there are different accounting standards, different ways of measuring value on a ledger. Depending on which you choose, you can create wildly different pictures of what something is worth. These double calculations bankrupted Enron and sent people to prison. A similar conflict is playing out here. The WNBA players have been compensated generously according to their on-court value, which is to say not that much. But they haven't been paid for their real value, their true economic utility. That isn't about basketball at all. Their real worth is as a high-functioning instrument of corporate virtue signaling, weapons in a narrative war designed to help their owners, sponsors, and media partners feel righteous. And they're the ongoing hangover expense for those stadium renovations that are now 25 to 30 years old in need of yet another refurbishment. Pay the players what they're actually worth. I guess in the grift, because the WNBA isn't a sports league, and the players aren't coveted for their high-flying dunks. It's a shakedown machine. And the women running up and down the court, they are demanding full market value for their role in the scam.